I hope it's not too backward to say that I feel like I have never heard anything on my hi-fi back home that came out that good. You could have to hear it yourself to believe the perfect pitch, the harmony parts, how the volume rolled up and down. We had our ears pressed to a giant music box. Then the whole side of my face started to vibrate as if the music had rushed into my pores. I could see August's skin pulsating the tiniest bit. When we stood back up, my cheek prickled and itched. "You are listening to bee air conditioning," August said. "Most people don't have any idea about all the complicated life going on inside a hive. Bees have a secret life we don't know anything about." I loved the idea of bees having a secret life, just like the one I was living. What other secrets have they got? I wanted to know. Well, for instance, every bee has its role to play. She went through the whole thing. The nest builders with the group that drew the comb. I told her the way they created hexagons. They must be the ones who could do math in their heads. And she smiled and said, yes, nest builders had true math aptitude. Field bees were the ones with good navigation skills and tireless hearts, going out to gather nectar and pollen. There was a group called the mortician bees, whose pitiful job it was to rake the dead bees out of the hive and keep everything on the clean side. Nurse bees, August said, had a gift for nurturing, and they fed all the baby bees. They were probably the self-sacrificing group, like the women at church socials who said, "No, you take the children. No, you take the chicken breast. I'm just fine with the neck and gizzard, really." The only males were the drones who sat around waiting to mate with the queen. And of course, August said, there's the queen and her attendants. She has attendants? Oh, yes, like ladies in waiting. They feed her, bathe her, keep her warm or cool, whatever she needs. You can see them always circling around her, fussing over her. I've seen them caress her. August returned her helmet to her head. I guess I'd want comfort too if I did nothing but lay eggs all day, week in and week out. That's all she does? Lay eggs? I wasn't sure what I expected. It wasn't like she wore a crown and sat on the throne giving out royal orders. Egg-laying is the main thing, Lily. She's the mother of every bee in the hive, and they all depend on her to keep it going. I don't care what their job is. They know the queen is their mother. She's the mother of thousands. The mother of thousands. I put on my helmet as August lifted the lid. The ways the bees poured out, rushing up all of a sudden in spirals of chaos and noise, caused me to jump. "Don't move an inch," said August. "Remember what I told you. Don't be scared." A bee flew straight for my forehead, collided with the net, and bumped against my skin. "She's giving you a little warning," August said. "When they bump your forehead, they're saying, 'I've got my eye on you, so you be careful.' Send them love, and everything will be fine." I love you, I said in my head. "I love you," I tried to say it to 32 ways. August pulled out the brood frames, not even wearing her gloves. While she worked, the bees spun around us, gathering strength till they made soft wind on our faces. It reminded me of the ways bees had flown out of my bedroom walls, stranding me at the center of a bee whirlwind. I watched the different shadows on the ground, the funnel of the bees, me still as a fence post, August bent over the hive, inspecting the frames, looking for wax buildup on the comb, and the half-moon shape of her helmet bouncing along. The bees began to light on my shoulders the way birds sit on telephone wires. They sat along my arms, speckled the bee veil so I could scarcely see through it. I love you, I love you. They covered my body, filled the cuffs of my pants. My breath came faster and something coiled around my chest and squeezed tighter and tighter until suddenly, like somebody had snapped off the panic switch, I felt myself go limp. My mind became unnaturally calm, as if part of me had lifted right up out of my body and was sitting on a tree limb watching the spectacle from a safe distance. The other part of me danced with the bees. I wasn't moving a lick, but in my mind I was spinning through the air with them. I had joined the bee Congo line. I sort of forgot where I was. With my eyes closed, I slowly raised my arms, weaving them through the bees, until finally I stood with them stretched out from my side in a dreamy place I'd never been before. My neck rolled back and my mouth opened. I was floating somewhere. Somewhere that didn't rub too close against life. Like I'd chewed the bark from a toothache tree, and it had made me dizzy. Lost in the bees, I felt dropped into a field of enchanted clover that made me immune to everything, as if August had doused me with the bee smoke and quieted me down to the point I could do nothing but raise my arms and sway back and forth. Then, without warning, all the immunity wore off, and I felt the hollow, spooned-out space between my navel and breastbone begin to ache. The motherless place. I could see my mother in the closet, the stuck window, the suitcase on the floor. I heard the shouting, then the explosion. I'm almost doubled over. I lowered my arms, but I didn't open my eyes. How could I live the whole rest of my life knowing these things? What could I ever do to be good enough to make them go away? How come we couldn't go back and fix the bad things we did? Later, my mind would remember the plagues God had been fond of sending early in his career, the ones designed to make the Pharaoh change his mind and let Moses take the people out of Egypt. "Let my people go," Moses said. I'd seen the plague of locusts at the movie, the sky filled with hordes of insects looking like kamikaze planes. Back in my room on the peach farm, when the bees had first come out at night, I imagined they were sent as a special plague for T-Ray, God saying, "Let my daughter go." And maybe that's exactly what they'd been, a plague that released me. But here, now, surrounded by stinging bees on all sides and the motherless place throbbing away, I knew that these bees were not a plague at all. I felt like the Queen's attendants were out here in a frenzy of love, caressing me in 1,000 places. "Look who's here, it's Lily. She's so weary and lost. Come on, bee sisters." I was the statum in the middle of the twirling flower, the center of all their comforting. "Lily, Lily," my name came across in the blue distance. "Lily!" I opened my eyes. August stared through her spectacles. The bees had shaken the pollen dust off their feet and were starting to settle back into the hive. I could see tiny grains of it drifting in the air. "Are you okay?" August said. I nodded. Was I? I had no idea.